This is the Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League podcast with your host, Jason Peck. That is right, everybody. Welcome in to the Week 8 edition of the 2022 Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League podcast. As always, I am your host, Jason, the commissioner of the Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League podcast. I am here with my competitor from last week, Adam Stovall. Adam, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. This wouldn't be a podcast without all the rest of you guys that are in the league, and I'm excited when I get one of you on every single week, or most every week. Not every week, obviously, the last 2 weeks. I have not had guests, but I'm glad to come back to guests, and I'm glad to have you specifically on, Adam. I'm stoked. So, thanks for coming on. Anything exciting that you want to just get off your chest right away, or no?
Well, this is a podcast first for me. This is my first time using an actual laptop for the podcast and not my phone. So,
woo! Look at how stable his camera is. Hey, that's me in the reflection. Nice.
Cool?
Such a stable camera. I'm used to it just like flying around because it's in your or popping in and out because you want to check the fantasy football app while you're also doing the podcast. So
I do that quite a bit.
Yeah. So I'm glad to have you on. I'm looking forward to the show, mainly because it wasn't too bad this week in the way of injuries. There were a couple of injuries, but nothing too serious that really affected too many fantasy football leagues out there. But we're going to start with that this week. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. This week's injuries.
How is he running with a broken leg? Dog, I gotta do this shit. I put the team on my fucking back, though. My leg broke. I don't know how the fuck I'm running right now, though.
I love that video.
It's a good one. Unfortunately, Jonathan Taylor couldn't put the team on his back after he broke his ankle. Actually, didn't break it. I think they just say injured his ankle. I don't know if it was a sprain or if he just rolled it or something. He rolled it, but then he came back into the game, but he still didn't do anything. He only ran for like 20 more yards or 30 more yards after that. No touchdowns. But they're expecting that he should be able to play, hopefully, going forward. But currently he's on my bench. So, you know what? He's been underperforming too much for me lately. So he's going to take a timeout, and I'm going to let him know what I think of him going forward. Until I see results, I'm not going to play him.
I don't blame you. That's scary right there. Your second round pick, not doing anything.
Yeah, not good. My keeper. Oh, wait, we didn't do the sad music. Let's do it. All right. The next big injury was Rashad Bateman. He had a foot sprain. It seems like he's going to be out for multiple weeks. Now, he hasn't been a massive fantasy producer recently, but very sneaky, Adam. Very sneaky. He hasn't been a massive fantasy producer, but that could have implications for like Lamar Jackson or something like that. He's probably going to be out multiple weeks. And on the same team, Mark Andrews kind of got banged up this last week. They played on Thursday night, right? I think they played last Thursday. He was playing with a hurt knee, and he got hurt again in the game, and it looked like he was limping off with a knee, but then they said it was a shoulder injury, which was very strange. Because were you watching last Thursday when that happened?
Actually, I think it was my first Thursday game I watched because we hooked it up to Mackenzie's Amazon Prime account.
Nice.
So, and finally watched Thursday Night Football. But I thought he was carrying his shoulder, though, when he came off.
He might have been. It just looked like he was limping really badly when he was walking off, too. And I guess maybe that's what I focused on. So, yeah, it could have been a little bit of both going on at the same time. But that's what he's got in the injury report. But people are thinking that he's probably going to play. I don't think anything came back after tests that anything was a serious injury. On another lesser injury, I think, is Cooper Kupp. Supposedly he got some sort of ankle sprain, but they're expecting him to play, I believe, in week 9 as of today. We'll see as the week goes on, but they're saying it wasn't too major. And then Gus Edwards had a hamstring injury that's potentially day to day. I don't know. He could potentially miss this week. In that case, Kenyon Drake would be a great start. But we'll see, I guess. As with most injuries that are day to day, you don't quite know if they're going to play until game day rolls around. Oh, and the last big injury, but this is a major injury, but not for really a fantasy football impactor. It was Irv Smith, who I did happen to play this week, unfortunately, but he had a high ankle sprain, and they're saying between 8 and 10 weeks that he's going to be out. So pretty serious injury, might be out for the rest of the year, and that kind of makes our it's a nice segue. Yes, nice segue into our next section, which is the big trades in the NFL. Unless you had any, did you have any notes on any of those injuries? Basically,
No,
just
not.
about facts. So, like you said, I think the only fantasy implications are maybe iffy to play Jonathan Taylor, and Lamar Jackson might have a rough time if his pass catchers are gone. So we'll see. All right, the first big trade. Speaking of the Minnesota Vikings, TJ Hawkinson was traded to the Minnesota Vikings for a second. I think wasn't it a second in 2023 and a third in 2024? I believe that's what the trade was.
There were like 3 or 4 picks involved in that when I was talking to a Minnesota Viking fan.
Yeah. Yeah, there might have been others back and forth, but those were I thought the big picks that were involved in that TJ Hawkinson trade. So you said you were kind of excited about this trade, Adam.
I think it will be better for Hawkinson owners like myself. Not too much, though. It's probably more of a lateral trade for fantasy purposes, though, because you already have pass catchers Adam Thielen there, as well as Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
And Dalvin Cook, who gets all the carries, too. So you probably won't see too much more usage, but I like to think that Kirk Cousins right now is in a better quarterback and better system than Detroit and Goff. So
that's probably true. Yeah. Yeah. The only, like you said, he is in a better offense, I think, but he might get less volume. Although he wasn't really getting that much volume in Detroit. So
no, I think hopefully he gets more quality looks though towards the red zone.
End zone, yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for at least.
It could be a positive trend for TJ Hawkinson, who really, after his he burst into the scene, I think his his rookie year. He kind of burst into the scene with a couple of great games at the beginning of the year, and then after that, he's just been kind of mediocre in general. He hasn't been I don't know, he hasn't been great, like everybody kind of expected him to be.
He keeps himself in the top 5 fantasy wise because he busts out for a 30-point game every 6 games.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, we'll see if this maybe brings a little bit of consistency to his game. Maybe he's not putting up those massive games, but at least he's putting up solid performances every week, potentially. Who knows?
He's frustrating.
He's definitely I don't know. Is he a better player than Irv Smith?
I'd say so.
Irv Smith is pretty athletic, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see if the system uses tight ends really as much as I guess the Lions, like we said, didn't really use them that much, but
I would love for him to be used like Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews. That'd be that ain't happening though in that offense though.
Look at the wide receivers in those offenses. So that's why they're being used the way they're used.
If anything, hopefully it brings down the ceiling a little bit, though, of the other guys.
It could. That's for sure. So we'll see. We'll see how it impacts. We're not 100% sure at this point. We're just making guesses. But it's definitely a better situation for TJ Hawkinson, and he's moving to a winning team, which I'm sure he's happy about. in division, which I'm kind of surprised at for this this trade. It's a pretty big trade to happen in division, so so very interesting. But
everyone made moves except for the Packers.
yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it's really not surprising. I was not looking forward to the trade deadline because I thought the Packers were going to make a big wide receiver move because they never do. They literally never make big trades at the trade deadline ever. That's just like how the offense. They don't want to trade for good players. They want to develop good players in their system. So that's just, never been something that they do. So that's just how it is. Unfortunately, for our potential run this year, it probably won't happen. So,
4 straight, is that right? Losses.
I think so. Yeah. No. Was it 4 straight? Maybe.
Giants, Jets,
Washington, and Buffalo. Yeah. Yep, 4 straight. That's fine. I mean, that's just, we don't have. What did you expect when you don't have any wide receivers for Aaron Rodgers to throw to? There's only so much a quarterback can do at that point if you don't have wide receivers. So, I don't know. But, yeah. So that's just the state of the Packers this year. So, on to other rivals of the Packers. Chase Claypool went to the Bears for a 2nd-round pick. So that was a big move. Trying to get some pass catchers to support Justin Fields. How do you feel about that?
I don't hate it, but I hope he leaves his diva days in Pittsburgh.
You hope he leaves his diva days in Pittsburgh. He hasn't been that big of a diva.
Not this year. Last year he had a lot of controversy though with
Well, he
time
just had
management and his TikTok and all that
he
stuff.
had the one damn play. The one play that everybody gave him crap about for celebrating a first down. I understand it wasn't the best time to celebrate a first down, but at the same time, like he was getting crapped on for, a long time about it. So I don't know. I agree. He should have had better awareness, but whatever. I guess I didn't see any of the TikTok stuff that happened. So maybe he
just on the field pretty much.
Was he a Juju Junior?
They were like yin and yang as far as I believe.
Yeah.
Juju more of the focal point though, probably.
Yeah. So, well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe, maybe that'll help the Bears.
I'd like him to take over the number 1 spot so that Mooney can return to being a nice number 2.
Yeah, Mooney's good down the field. I don't know what his full route tree is like, but he's definitely a good field stretcher. That's for sure. So we'll see. We'll see how I'm sure it'll help the Bears. I don't think it could hurt. So, their offenses looked better now that they're kind of designing the run game for Justin Fields a little bit. They're letting him run a little bit more, and I think that's kind of opening things up for the offense in general. So that's been good. So, things are looking up for the Bears and looking down for the Packers. So we'll see how this continues. Let's go to all the rest of them are kind of smaller. We've got Chase Edmonds was involved in the Bradley Chubb deal. So Bradley Chubb went to Miami, and the Broncos received Chase Edmonds and a litany of picks. I believe Chase Edmonds is kind of interesting. Chase Edmonds was kind of just like a throw-in on that deal because he was just like, spare parts, I guess, to add a little bit more value to that trade. Jacksonville traded for Calvin Ridley. That was kind of a big move, actually, trading for a suspended player in the middle of the year.
That's right. I forgot they did that.
Yeah, getting a good wide receiver for next year, I guess. I guess they're looking towards next year now, right? Because, they're kind of 2-7, or 2-6 or something. Did they lose again this week?
Well, the whole division is bad this year, though. Like Texans aren't good. Indy's not good. They've benched Matt Ryan now for the rookie.
Yeah.
Tennessee, they're running through all the defenses, but I think Tannehill's injured, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think
So
Jacksonville's not good. So that's actually a pretty poor, with half a season left to go still.
yeah,
I don't know what the record is, but
that's true. Yeah, I don't have any. Speaking of Jacksonville, I don't have any of the trades from last week. But James Robinson um, went to the Jets to fill in for Breece Hall, at least fill some of the hole. Which was good for him, I think, in the long run. Obviously, the next couple of weeks he's going to be working in, but he was losing work to Travis Etienne, so I think it'll help both Etienne and James Robinson in the future. But now, literally, all of my jerseys are none of the players are on the teams anymore. So like, I mean, I just have two Packers jerseys. One's an old Clay Matthews jersey, and the other one's Devontae Adams. And Adams is no longer on the Packers. And then, um, yeah, James Robinson, the Jaguars uniform, no longer on the Jaguars. So
are you gonna buy his New York jersey?
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to see how long his stint is there. So hopefully he's there for a while. But if Breece Hall's back next year, then who knows? They might move on from him too.
I have a hard time thinking they're gonna keep him over there.
Yeah,
I think he's a fill-in.
yeah, I think so too. But we'll see. We've got Jeff Wilson went to Miami after they traded away Chase Edmonds. So he's some additional. He's a body that's going to be going to Miami. I think Jeff Wilson was only decent in the 49ers just because he was on the 49ers. Like, I don't know how good he actually is.
You realize that they have Miami now has all three of the former San Francisco running backs now.
Oh yeah, Mostert. Yeah. Well, that's what. Yeah. Well, he wasn't he a former 49ers coach?
He was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. So that makes sense. He likes all those guys, I guess.
Yeah. Smart move by them, I think.
Yeah. But I think Mostert always played over Wilson, when he was healthy. So I think Mostert will keep that starting gig. And then this was very semi-significant, but semi-insignificant trade. Buffalo and Indianapolis essentially traded backup running backs. So Naeem Hines and Zach Moss were traded for each other. Zach Moss plus a fifth round pick from Buffalo to Indianapolis. And I think this is because they just Buffalo really wanted a pass catching running back. And they tried to get they were trying to get what's the guy from JD McKissick. They tried to get him in the offseason, and something happened, and the Washington kept him. And then they drafted James Cook, hoping that James Cook would be the pass catching running back, and he hasn't done anything. So now they've got Naeem Hines. They've always really wanted the pass catching running back over the last year or two, and they haven't gotten it. So now they've got one. So I think that was more. They were just trying to get rid of Zach Moss and a fifth round. They probably saw it as almost negligible to pick up Naeem Hines. So
smart move.
Yeah. So those were the big trades that happened in the NFL this year. But we're going to any last words on the trades that happened?
Nah. Would you start any of the trade people though? This week?
This week? Probably not. Like, are you wondering if you should start TJ Hawkinson?
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, he is the only real possibility that you could, I think, this week. Because they need him. Like, they don't really have a tight end right now. So, but I feel like he might be mostly in to block this week. Who knows? I don't know. Or maybe it's easier to run routes. I don't know what's easier. But a lot of times the first week or two is kind of an adjustment period. So
I'll probably end up starting Taysom Hill, be my guess.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
I would start Greg Dulcich of the Broncos.
Yeah, but he's on bye.
Yeah, he should be a top 10 tight end though the rest of the season though.
Greg D, man.
He's getting great usage right now.
Yeah, he's been good.
Albert O is but
Yeah, I wish I would have picked up Greg, but I think Njoku got hurt after you picked up Greg D, didn't he? Didn't you? Because otherwise, I would have picked him up. I would have picked him up instead of Irv Smith to play him this week, but I did, or last week. But I think you already had him, so
I like that one.
yeah.
I'm afraid to drop who is it? I just said his name.
Taysom.
I'm afraid to drop Taysom Hill because I spent $40 on him.
That's your fault for spending $40 on Taysom Hill.
Well, you know what? My thought process
Play him
was,
the 1 week that he played that he got like 40 points.
well, I bought him after that. And I'm like, I need him for my next matchup, which I think I barely beat Ryle with. Well, I beat Ryle by like 1 point or something like that, or half a point, 1.5 points. So
Yeah.
I like to credit my victory to that $40 purchase.
I see.
But I was hoping he'd get like more running opportunities and maybe more throwing opportunities and maybe somehow become the quarterback of the Saints.
Nope.
And get that super flex value in the tight end spot.
Yeah, they're pretty dead set on not making him throw too much. Like they're just swapping between Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton. They're not gonna really have Taysom except around the goal line. So which are the important touches? Like he's got a higher percent chance to score a touchdown than maybe anybody else on that team and maybe anybody in the league as far as like wide receivers go or tight ends go. Like he probably has a very high chance to score touchdowns, but
he rushed 10 times last week for 61 yards.
yeah, I mean that's what he really does. That's all he does. Like a normal game from him is like 5 rushes for 40 yards is kind of what you might get for, from him. So
The floor is consistent though at like 5 points.
that's what I mean. Yeah, that's all he's gonna get. Which, I mean, if you just need 5 points from your tight end, like he could do worse. So,
which is pretty much everybody except for Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on. We haven't even gotten like a portion of the way into this week, so let's get going. All right. We've got the top scorer in the league this week was Chad with 157.34 fantasy points.
Alexander Hamilton.
I believe I paid that out today. So you should be good to go with your $10, Chad.
I'm gonna take a guess that we beat the waiver wire team of the week.
I don't know. They've been scoring in the like 170s this week, or not this week, but this year. So we'll have to see. So
I think it was a low week for the waiver wire team. I think so.
Why is that?
I don't know, because whenever I looked at the people on waivers, I wasn't really impressed by too much.
Well, running backs are never good, but you usually have like, 2 or 3 wide receivers that kind of go off. Second or third wide receivers on a team that you don't ever pick up because they're not good, but they blow up once a year, that sort of thing. So we'll just have to see. There's a little bit later we'll find out. But we're gonna start with the head-to-head matchups for this last week 8. Let's go. Last week's head-to-head results.
This might be my favorite tune on the podcast.
It's a dope. I'm glad I found it. It was on one of the they have freesounds.com or something like that. I don't know if that's the exact one, but people like put out like tunes that people can use for free and in their things, and so that's one of them, and it's a cool one. So
It reminds me of Mulan.
yeah, it does kind of have Asian vibes to it, which is kind of neat. So we're going to start with our first and most unfortunate matchup of this last week. Wait, where are we at? We're on week 9. Let's look at week 8. Where I took on Team Taylor Swift, took on your team, Sir Lancelot, and did not take the victory. Unfortunately, we lost 112.5 fantasy points to your 150.78 fantasy points. A great week for your team, led by Tua and the bane of my existence, DJ Moore, and Stefan Diggs. So, those three kind of put up massive weeks, and everybody else was still decent. I mean, I think the lowest scorer on your team was TJ Hawkinson with 9.5 fantasy points. Wait, why do you want TJ to leave? He scored 9.5 fantasy points for you this week.
That was like a second high of the season right there.
But yeah, I mean, you just had a very good week from basically everybody. So nothing really to complain about. For some reason, you dropped the Jets defense. Oh, they're playing Buffalo this week. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Jets have been good, though. Jets
Yeah.
have been very good. But they had kind of a good, easy schedule over the last, few weeks. So they played the Packers, so worst team in the league. So, let's see. But yeah, so there's not much. I mean, do you have any specific things to say about your team? Congratulate your team for the hard-fought victory, or what?
Thank you to Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, DJ Moore, CeeDee Lamb, TJ Hawkinson, Stefan Diggs, Ryan Suckup, and the Jets D for carrying me to victory in great fashion.
There you go. There you go.
I'll buy you boys a steak dinner.
On my team, I can't seem to pick the right running backs ever. So I played Jonathan Taylor, who only got me 5 fantasy points, 5.6. Raheem Mostert got me 7.2, which is all right, I guess. Irv Smith got hurt. He only got 4.8. And unfortunately, Evan McPherson got worse than a goose. I can't even play the goose because he got me negative fantasy points this week. He missed a field goal. And he got 1 extra point and missed it an extra point. So it was, I don't know what happened to Evan McPherson this weekend, but he had 3 opportunities to put the ball through the uprights, and it only went through once. So I don't know what to say. Dolphins D was supposed to be good against Detroit, but then again, Detroit usually scores a lot of points, but the last few weeks they hadn't been. And for some reason, I played DeAndre Swift against the Dolphins D, and Jamal Williams on the bench there scored 21 fantasy points. So
he's been pretty damn good this season.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem is it's you don't really know when it's going to happen. Like the 3 weeks before that, I mean, one was a bye, but the other 2 weeks were only 5 and 6 fantasy points. So but then before that he had 23 and 23, and then he had 6, and then he had 15, which is not terrible. And maybe I should just consider playing him all the time. But DeAndre Swift didn't practice today, so there's a possibility that he doesn't play this week, and I would almost prefer that because they're playing against the Packers this week, and they're just going to destroy them on the ground because every team does. So.
I've never seen a kicker go negative in fantasy before. This is the first time.
What?
Yeah.
For a kicker?
Yeah. When was the last time you saw a kicker go negative?
Well, anytime they miss a field goal, they lose a point. So if that was their only, I can't tell you a specific time, but I don't think it's that crazy of a concept. People bench kickers and defenses on Monday night so that they don't lose fantasy points. So I
You
don't
see a
know.
lot more defenses go negative though than you do kickers.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of high-scoring offenses. Well, not this year, but previously, there were a lot of high-scoring offenses. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Either way, it was a rough week. Despite the fact that AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts scored me over 60 points themselves, I still couldn't pull out the victory. So, you know, you take your lumps, I guess. I have a great team, so like I can't really be that mad. Like my team is very good. Like I have 4 or 5 starting running backs that can be good any single week. And then AJ Brown, and then I just have to fill in my wide receiver spot with Brandon Ayuk, Juju, somebody. I don't know. I guess I don't have a tight end. That's my tight end and my wide receiver 2 are the weak spots on my team. But like I have a great team, and it frustrates me that I'm not doing better than I am. I am second in the league, but
Who are you behind?
you.
That's right.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that in the power rankings. So yeah, we'll have to see. You'll have to see if you moved in the power rankings at all, Adam. We'll have to see.
I should be number 1.
That's what you think.
For the second year in a row, I'm number 1 team. So,
I mean, I was number 1 team for a while, so like, I feel like every year we got a shot at being number 1 at least some point in the year. So
I will end the season as number 1.
we're only halfway through the year, my man. You don't even know.
My team's kicking in now.
You're you're too focused on what Pro Football Focus told you or whatever it was.
I could have told you that at the beginning of the
Pros.
season.
Fantasy Pros. Anyway, moving on to match number 2. I gotta go to bed soon, so we gotta do this. I start work at 7 in the mornings now, so I gotta. All right. Matchup number 2, we've got Saquon UC. Saquon UC versus Owen Tree, who is no longer Owen Tree, but we're keeping that name on there. He's 2-2 since he changed his name from Owen Tree. No, he's 3-2. So pretty decent, above 500 since you changed your name to Owen Tree. Unfortunately, you lost this one. So Saquon UC scored 111.38 fantasy points to Owen Tree's 92.74 fantasy points. Oh, I'm sorry. Ugh. Let's take a look. Are you on this matchup here?
I will be. Dude, I love having my phone available now.
It's very nice. Saquon UC was led not by Saquon Barkley, but by Jalen Waddle and Kirk Cousins leading the way. Kirk had 23 fantasy points, which is pretty respectable. And Jalen Waddle put up 26.6. Saquon Barkley had a decent game. He did have 13 fantasy points. But his biggest boon was from, well, as far as like points versus expected, maybe, I don't know. No, not really, I guess. The Eagles defense scored 16 fantasy points, which is pretty good. Good for a defense. So he got some good scoring games from like 3 or 4 people, and everybody else was kind of fine. Tyler Higbee, though, was not great. He only had 2.5 fantasy points. And Darrell Henderson only had 4. So, it was kind of boom and bust on his team this week in general. On the other side, it was also boom and bust. We had Kyler Murray, who put up 24 fantasy points, and Tyler Algier, surprising 16 fantasy points from him. And then, let's see. We've got Brian Robinson, who only had 2 fantasy points. Devontae Adams only had 0.7 fantasy points. So close to that goose. So close. But hey, look, there's another kicker who had 0 points. He had a goose. It's a goose. Did you hear it?
Heard it.
We've got, so Daniel Carlson. Vegas did not put up any fantasy points this week, or any points this week. So that means no fantasy points for the kicker, unfortunately. That's what you get for swiping Daniel Carlson from me on his bye. That's what happens.
But didn't you and Corliss just flip flop kickers? Because he had McPherson, and then didn't you have Carlson?
Yeah, I had Carlson, and I had to drop him for 1 week to pick up somebody else, and then he must have dropped McPherson to grab Daniel Carlson, and I'm thinking about switching from McPherson, so we'll have to see.
Do it.
But I mean, the Bengals offense is going to be good going forward, so like it's tough to, like you want a kicker that's on a good offense. You don't want a kicker that's on a bad offense. I don't know I never really figured out the recipe for kickers. You want like a good offense, but not one that's good in the red zone. So
Get you down there.
And then stalls. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, overall, he had a couple of good games from some people, but the Cowboys defense put up 13 fantasy points this week. So a couple of good games, couple of bad games, not enough to overcome Saquon, you see, and you're going into this next week with an additional loss. So there you go, Courts. Moving on to matchup number 3. We've got Team CM Keen, a.k.a. Chad, a.k.a. What did we call him? The Pitts, who he did start Kyle Pitts this week, much to his boon, versus the Young Hoes. The Pitts put up 157.34 fantasy points, as we mentioned at the top. He beat the Young Hoes who scored 122.12 fantasy points. This was the battle of the big running backs this week. We got Christian McCaffrey on Team Chad. He had 36.26. He had the first player since 2005 to throw for a touchdown, run for a touchdown, and receive a touchdown in the same game. So that was big. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, and Alvin Kamara also had 3 touchdowns this week. So Alvin Kamara actually outscored Christian McCaffrey. He had 38.3 fantasy points. So that's offsetting running backs there. And then we had Tony Pollard on Team Chad. He had 33.2 fantasy points in the absence of Zeke. Now, do you think Zeke is going to be maybe faded out with that amazing game out of Tony Pollard, or no?
Originally, but with Jerry Jones's comments this week saying that we ride with Zeke, I think they're going to force him into action still. I think he'll get a lot of the goal line work still too.
I don't understand why he's so adamant about Zeke, to be honest. Like, Pollard has been very good, and Zeke has kind of been a plotter.
Pollard's better.
Yeah, he is.
They should have traded Zeke this year, kept Cooper and CD, and kept Pollard as the main back. They'd be so much better this year.
They would. I agree.
I should be Gary Jones.
Speaking of Cooper, we have Cooper Kupp on Team Chad, who had 18.9 fantasy points. We had Kyle Pitts, who finally had a great game. He had 16.5 fantasy points. I can't believe you kept starting him, despite how terrible he was doing. He had 80 yards and a touchdown. So that was very good.
I was shocked by this too, because I thought Pitts would be so much better this year. I read a stat in the summertime, in the offseason, that Marcus Mariota has made his tight end like a top 5 tight end every season because he throws the tight end all the time.
Yeah. Well, that was another reason. Like, yeah, I agree. Yeah, a lot of those types of quarterbacks do throw a lot to their tight ends, and that's another reason why I drafted David Njoku. And then I was very sad the first couple of weeks when he wasn't used. And then he was used again, so I spent too much money to get him back.
He was your secret weapon going into the draft too.
Yeah,
I got a special coming up here. You don't know who
I
it is.
was drafting him in all of my mocks because Jacoby Brissett has done the same thing. Like, he's always had a top 5 tight end, like, always, because that's all he throws to. It's just like fires it to the tight end all the time. So we'll see. But let's keep going with this matchup here. We've got Mike Evans, who put up 15.3 fantasy points. That was pretty good. And this was kind of a boom bust team too. Like I said, he was led by Alvin Kamara with 38 fantasy points, and then Mike Evans and Josh Allen only had 17 fantasy points, which is kind of a disappointment from Josh Allen. And then Young Hoku had 14 fantasy points, but then like his his wide receiver 2, Hunter Renfrow, only put up 1.1 fantasy points. We had Pat Fryermuth had 7. Devonta Smith had 4.8. So not great games from those players. And, but even if he had played, I think your most optimal lineup, you wouldn't have beat Chad anyways. So you had no shot, Ryle. You had no shot. But I'm still rooting for your team. I think your team's great. I think your team is fantastic. We'll see where they're at in the power ranking this week. But moving on to matchup number 4. Matchup number 4, we've got Team Go Clifford versus Jerry's Kids, and Jerry's Kids could not put up a fight against the fully grown Go Clifford. Go Clifford put up 125.88 fantasy points to a measly 93.72 fantasy points. And James's team was led mainly by 3 players: Lamar Jackson, Nick Chubb, and Nick Folk. The kicker put up 21 fantasy points this week, so that was big. And then everybody else was just kind of like, nobody was worse than Najee Harris, who put up 8.96, except for the defense. Buccaneers defense put up 6 fantasy points against Baltimore. That was a bold move, playing your quarterback against your defense this week. So, but it paid off. You won.
Who's been a bigger stock this year? Najee Harris or your boy Jonathan Taylor?
I don't know. They've both been about the same. Nobody's had like a big week. Jonathan Taylor had a big week 1, and then hasn't done anything since. So I don't know. They're both. I feel more optimistic about. Actually, I don't know. They both have terrible offensive lines, so that's part of the problem. Is that their offensive lines suck. So I don't know. They're probably about the same. They're the same player right now with their the state of their offensive lines, because they both can be really good, but they both have terrible offensive lines. So yeah, just like consistent games from James's team, but unfortunately, fortunately, you had a great time, but unfortunately, Jerry's Kids did not have a great time. Except for Derrick Henry, who had 35.3 fantasy points. He had over 200 rushing yards. And I heard this stat. That is the 4th consecutive time against the Houston Texans that he's had over 200 yards. 4th consecutive game. The last 4 games he's had against the Houston Texans, he's had over 200 rushing yards.
They're pretty bad.
Yes, they're very bad. So yeah, there's that. Otherwise, everybody else just kind of was either fine or bad on your team. Justin Jefferson only put up 12.8. Kenneth Walker only had 11. Trevor Lawrence, I don't know why he's still your quarterback. Well, I guess he's been okay the last 2 weeks before that, but I don't know. Denver is a good defense. I don't know why you decided to play him against them, but I don't know. Should have played Khalil Herbert. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up now. All right. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to cover with that matchup, or you want to move on?
No, we can move on.
Let's move on to the last matchup of the week, and this one was a close one. It was a very close matchup. We had Cooking Some Lamb versus Team Buck Nasty 20, and this was very close, within close to 3.5 fantasy points, 3.6 fantasy points. Cooking Some Lamb won 115.68 to 112.08. Oh, I'm sorry. And Team Cookin' Some Lamb was led by, once again, some boom and bust players. We had DeAndre Hopkins with 27 fantasy points and Dalvin Cook with 22.6. And Geno Smith, with like his best game of the year, had 19 fantasy points. I think he's like, I don't know why you keep playing him. No, I guess he did have 2 good weeks. Weeks 4 and 5. He had 31 and 24 fantasy points.
He's
But
been
every
pretty
time else,
higher.
I guess he just had 2 big weeks. I don't know. I guess you have points in the 18s and 19s. I guess that's yeah. I guess that's fine. I don't know. I was looking at the last 2 weeks of 12 and 13, and I probably wouldn't have started them. But you did, and you won. You won probably because of it. Yeah, everybody else was fine, bad even. So there's that. On the other side of the ball, it was a little bit more consistent, but no, never mind. Well, no, this was actually more boom bust. I was looking at the first couple and I saw like 13, 17, 12. But then I saw James Robinson and Hunter Henry, and those were not good. But ETN put up 23 fantasy points. Tyreek Hill put up 25 and a half. Antonio Gibson had 17, which is a surprise. Antonio Gibson has been better now that Brian Robinson is back than when Brian Robinson wasn't there. So kind of surprising. You played James Robinson because you had to. Actually, you didn't actually have to. You could have played ETN as a running back and then put in one of the other players.
He's so lucky. Aaron's so lucky.
Well, he lost this week, so that's good. But yeah, he's been lucky. Like he has 4. Nobody needs 4 quarterbacks on their team, and he has nobody to fill in behind any of his players, and somehow he still has more wins than losses.
Like Gibson hasn't been that good, and he wins. Robinson's not good, and he wins. He's got 2 players injured or on bye, still wins.
Well, that's why, despite the fact that he's technically number 3 in the league, I have him last in my power rankings every single week. So
Dude, I love that part. It makes me laugh every time.
Speaking of which, let's move on to the weekly awards for this week. So this is the sleeper awards that were given out this week. We have the best team was Chad. The worst team was Courts. And fun fact about those two is that they are swapped from last week. Courts was the top scorer and Chad was the lowest scorer last week. So those two just swapped this week. The most efficient manager was James. The least efficient manager, to no surprise, seeing all of the massive running backs on my bench, was me. I was the least efficient manager. We had... Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the spreadsheet quick. The highest points in a loss was Ryo. The lowest points in a win was Benaya. Let's see what those numbers exactly were, because I have those. Yeah, so Ryo had the highest points in a loss at 122. So bad luck, like you had last week. So you feel that pain, Adam.
Dude, I got 3 losses on the season. 2 of them have come at the hands of extraordinary defensive performances.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
I'm sorry. And then the lowest points in the win was Benaya with 11.38. So I would have beat him, and it makes me sad that I didn't. But I didn't play him. So you had the biggest blowout against me, against my terrible team. The narrowest victory, as we said, was Neil, who by a score of 3.6 points. We have the overachiever, which is obviously Chad, and the underachiever, which is Brandon. He scored almost 20 points less than his projection. It's a sad life. Sad life. Oh no, Chad took Jason Myers. That's sad.
For what?
Maybe as a kicker. He swapped kickers. I thought about swapping kickers. Evan McPherson.
Oh, this is happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Live moves.
4 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago.
You bet.
I got to make a move for CMC. I tried last week. But
He's not going to sell CMC now.
dude, whenever I try to make a move for a player, they always, like clockwork, go off that week.
Mm.
Oh. You know, he's got no running backs this week, though. So I got running backs. I can make that work. I'll take an L this week to gain CMC.
You can try.
His running backs are Naheem Hines
Yeah.
and CEH, who has lost work to the rookie and is only getting single-digit carries. And Naheem Hines, however you say it, is in a new team in Buffalo. He's not going to get a lot of work.
Yeah.
And he needs to win this week because he's 4-4. Otherwise, he's going to start spiraling down here too. So I'll take an L this week to gain CMC.
That's a bold move.
Oh, but he already told me he's not trading him.
He's one game out of first.
Yeah, and I'm going to be up by 2 games on him then this week.
Yeah, if you lose a trade, then he's going to be tied with you. Or if you trade, then he's going to be tied with you.
But it's going to benefit me in the long run, though.
Maybe that's what he's thinking about CMC.
Well, he needs him this week. He needs running backs this week to maintain above 500 win-loss ratio.
Yeah.
I can take it now.
Let's jump into the power rankings this week. Are you ready, Adam?
Yes.
Who do you think is number 1?
Should be me.
Oh, it's Ryo. I gotta keep rooting for Ryo's team. Keep rooting for Ryo.
I love it.
Ryo, congrats on your fantastic team. I am in my rightful spot of second because I'm not going to drop me lower than second. So, Adam, you are third. My team has work to do to get into first. So that's why I do it, because they're not good enough to be in first right now. So your team is third. Your team needs to work on getting better too. I'm sure you wouldn't be opposed to your team being better, getting better.
Let's do it.
We've got Benaya in the 4 spot. I moved up Chad. Chad got moved up to the 5 spot. We got Neil in the 6 spot. Brandon dropped back down, I think a couple of spots into the 7 spot. Courts dropped down as well. I think Neil moved up past both of them, and also Chad moved up past both of them. Actually, I think Chad just moved up past Neil and Courts. And then James is in the 9 spot. He's been having a rough time. And then I got Aaron in the 10 spot because he has 4 QBs. So there you go. There's the power rankings. I know that to be honest, I put way less effort into them than it deserves to be. I just kind of shuffle around based on who I think is good and bad based on that. But I have some it's obviously biased because I have some players locked into positions where they probably shouldn't be. If I were to take them seriously, these standings would look very different.
It'd be me number 1 every week.
No, I don't know about that, but right now Ryo's got the 1 spot, so you gotta do better to get that 1 spot back.
I love how you're like
keep it going
on the Ryo train nowadays.
Yeah, well, he's. I put him up there, and he's had 3 losses in a row. The last 3 weeks that I've got him in first place have been losses, so I'm keeping him up there.
That's so funny. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready for our favorite section of every single week?
The waiver wire team of the week.
The waiver wire team of the week. Weekly waiver wire studs.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
You're darn right. You're darn right. Well, at the quarterback spot, we've got Justin Fields, who put up 26.04 fantasy points this week. At the running back spot, which is mostly always pretty weak, we've got Latavius Murray with 12.4. and Dontrell Hilliard with 10 fantasy points. But in the wide receiver spots, we've got Rondale Moore, who put up 19.9, and Devin Duvernay, who put up 14.4 fantasy points. We've got in the tight end spot, this is where we've got some big weeks. Tyler Conklin, who put up 22.9 fantasy points. Yeah. And in the flex, because we didn't have another wide receiver above this, Isaiah Likely, who put up 16.7, and that's pretty good. In the defense, we've got the Saints, who put up 17. So we've got some big. Those last three numbers are adding up. We've got Chase McLaughlin at the kicker spot with 11 fantasy points. So how much do you think this team put up, Adam?
156. Right.
156. You think it's 1 point less than Chad?
Well, I said that we beat them this week, so.
You think that we beat them? This team put up. Wait, I don't have a drum roll. What do I have? I don't have anything good for this. Anyway, this team put up 150.34 fantasy points.
Yeah!
We had two teams that beat the waiver wire this week.
Yes! We did it.
So not only did Chad beat him, but you also beat the waiver wire this week.
Suck it, waivers.
Congratulations.
Suck it, nerds.
Yeah, that deserves 2 boom shakalakas against the waiver wire. So good work, guys. We beat the waiver wire. So I almost gave the waiver wire 2 losses. But I mean, that doesn't really make any sense. And that would throw us off from the weeks that they've won versus losses. So normally I'd give them 2 losses, but then they'd be 9 total games versus 8. So, whatever. But all right, let's move on. Next week's matchup predictions.
I can see the future. I have to stop you from destroying my race. In the future.
Did
I love that too.
I knew you'd do that.
Great drops. But last week, unfortunately, I was 1 for 5. I picked 1 correct matchup last week. And let's see if we can do a little bit better this week. So let's look at the first matchup for week 9, which is my matchup, Taylor Swift versus Osaquan UC. You got that pulled up, Adam?
Working on it. Hold up.
Swap over to week 9 here. I think I've got a pretty good shot of winning this week. Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown versus Houston, which is technically a bad matchup, but I don't think it will be. It's, they're going to stomp them just like they do every single week. They're going to put up a big first half and then just kind of coast the rest of the game, but it'll be enough to give me good fantasy points. I've got Ramondre Stevenson versus Indianapolis, Raheem Mostert versus Chicago, and either DeAndre Swift or Jamal Williams versus Green Bay. Like, those are my running back matchups this week, and those are dope matchups. And then wide receiver, like I said, A.J. Brown and Juju versus Tennessee, which is a great matchup as well. Basically, my whole team has great matchups this week, so I have a pretty good shot of winning this one. On the other side, we've got Kirk Cousins, Darrell Henderson. He's got Saquon Barkley on a bye, so suck it. Suck it, Benaya. Saquon Barkley's on a bye. Hey,
He
Adam,
deserves to lose this week.
don't go doing any trades with him, please.
I've been trying. I was going to do a trade for Saquon and Chase today, and I was going to offer him a ton. Like a ton.
You'd have to.
But then I figured if I went for Chase, it'd bite me in the butt because I play him next week, and I'd be giving that. Chase would be on a bye, which would hurt me automatically, but I'd be giving up so much in the trades for Chase and Saquon that he could use those against me and potentially beat me too then. So I'm like, I'm just going to settle for Saquon, and he didn't want to do that. And he should have, because now he's going to lose to you this week. So he deserves to lose because I offered him good stuff.
You're darn right. He does.
What did I offer him? I offered him 2 running backs. I did Foreman. Is that his name?
Yeah, Deonta Foreman.
Yeah, Foreman and Sanders for one of them.
Yeah.
And you said, no, you're not getting Saquon. And I'm like, well, you should think about it because you're going to lose me next week. And then I sent him Aaron Jones. He hasn't accepted it or denied it yet, but he'll deny it though eventually.
There you go. Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. But I like my chances this week, so I'm going with me to win this matchup.
I picked you too. He told me, he's like, well, if I lose this season, go like 4-6 and lose the rest of the season, you should have Saquon as a keeper, but he should be thinking about winning this matchup and winning this season for Naya. You're not playing for next year. You're playing for this year, boy.
Yeah.
Get it right.
Sure. Sure. All right. Matchup number 2. We've got not your matchup. Your matchup's next after this one. Oh, we've got Team Chad versus Team Brandon, aka Jerry's Kids. Now this looks to be like a barn burner, 104 projected points to 101 projected points. I know. I don't know. I think, yeah, Chad's team did put up a bunch of points this week, but like you said, he doesn't have any running backs this week. He's kind of having a tough time here putting together a good lineup. Let's see. On the other side, though, we got a lot of potential injuries. Looks like 3 players are questionable in the starting lineup. Oh, Derrick Henry had a limited practice today. He should be good. Mark Andrews.
He'll be fine.
Should be fine. Yeah, Gus Edwards. He's got Kenny and Drake there. Yeah, I think I'm taking Jerry's Kids.
I would say the same thing. No running backs for Chad's going to bite him. He should have taken the trade last week.
He doesn't have a second wide receiver, though. Cortland Sutton's on a bye. His fill-in would have to be Marquise Goodwin if he plays. He could pick somebody up from waivers, I guess, to fill in, but you never know.
I gave it to Jerry's Kids. Is it my matchup next?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you did pick Jerry's Kids?
Yeah.
I think... yeah, no, I think I'm on the same boat. Because his running backs have such great matchups, too. All right, your matchup is next. We've got Sir Lancelot versus Cooking Some Lamb, and this one's projected to be tight. Look at this.
You want to see something exciting?
What's exciting? What are you doing?
If you check your phone.
Did he just accept that trade?
Oh, shit. No, I accepted it.
Oh, for Courts. Oh, the Devontae Adams trade. There you go. Holy cow. That's a big trade. Devontae Adams, Dak, and Cam Akers, and $1 fab, because it wasn't even. For Donta. He gave you $1 fab? He doesn't have any fab. Neither of you have any fab.
I got $1.
And Donta Foreman, DJ Moore, and Miles Sanders. Wow. What a trade. So now you better revoke that trade offer for with Benaya.
Well, he can't accept it now.
Oh, yeah, because you have players on there. There you go.
It's too late now. So here's my thought process with that trade. Devontae Adams has passed it by. Dak has passed it by.
Yeah.
It'll fill in because I'll have Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Devontae Adams as my 3 wide receivers. I'll have Austin Eckler as my 1. I'll have Aaron Jones as my 2. I'll flip-flop my quarterbacks depending on buys. So I should be set. I just hope that Las Vegas gets their crap together here.
Yeah.
But I picked up DJ Moore for free. The one guy, Foreman, for $8, thanks to Benaya. And I got Sanders in the 8th round. So to get that for Devontae Adams and no more bye weeks.
Yeah, that's true. You gotta hope that Devontae Adams does well going forward.
Yeah. Well, at least I got my bye weeks covered, which is the name of the game right now. So
it's true. That's true.
I was hesitant about it too. I really wanted to make offers to Chad and to you, but you already turned me down for the stack.
Yeah, I'm not trading that stack. Like, that is too valuable right now. Like, the quarterback position is just not something that, like, I know you were potentially going to give me Tua, but like the quarterback position, especially now that I don't have to worry about a bye week for them, like, it's just too valuable. So I don't have to worry about that. The only thing I have to worry about is my wide receiver 2 and my tight end. Like, so.
And I could potentially use Cam Akers as a keeper next year too.
That's true. If you really want to.
Yeah. Well, I guess they had talks, Coach McVay and Cam Akers had talks this week, and I guess there was a productive talk. So where they start using him again, or they trade him away in the off season.
Yeah.
I think he'll gain a role. So.
Well, we'll see. I think I have you winning this matchup. Well, you're giving away. Let's see. DJ Moore is going to be gone. Donta Foreman, and who was the third?
Miles Sanders.
So you're 2.
He plays tomorrow night.
Yeah. Yeah, that has to go through. I'll try to push that through late afternoon. So that's not sitting around forever over the weekend, so that you all. So I'll try to get it in by like 4 or 5 tomorrow, and so that you guys have time to put those players in your lineup and everything. So
I hope this trade doesn't bite me in the ass, though.
It will. So no, I'm just kidding. So you're gonna have Devontae instead of DJ Moore. You're gonna have Eckler up there, and then who else are you getting back?
I'll probably throw Curtis Samuel in the flex.
Curtis Samuel in the flex, not too bad.
He's actually had a solid floor.
Yeah, he's been fine. He's getting a lot of looks, but he's just not having big games since the beginning of the year. So
well, he's getting a lot of rushing yards too, though.
Yeah,
and he usually leads the team in targets as well. So I'll take that for a flex for a fill-in for a week.
True that. All right, I have you winning this matchup this week with that trade going in.
That's big news. We don't do trades on here very often live.
No, we don't do trades much at all in this league, so it's good.
You guys need to be better about looking at the trades and responding to them, whether it be accepting, denying, saying I'll look at it later, or renegotiating something else.
You're on the wrong group, because the people that watch this are the ones that look and respond to trades.
Courts is pretty bad about the trades, honestly.
Yeah, well, Courts is a busy man, so
he had time this week to make a meme.
That's true.
And then go back and look at like your data or whatever it was this morning.
Oh, he wasn't actually looking at my data.
whatever the hell he said he was doing though, but
oh, he made up a code, a line of code essentially that's saying like commissioner gets the waiver wire or whatever. But you picking you to win this week?
I am.
All right. We're moving on to matchup number 4. We've got Team Go Clifford versus Team Owen Tree. All right. This one, we're going to have to see. Go Clifford
I'm going Owen Tree because he took my players from me.
That's true. He did.
But I would like to see him do well. I hope you do well, Courts, this week, because whenever I trade with people, I hope the people I trade with do well.
Do well, because it makes you look better as a trader. Traitor!
Oh, you're so funny.
But I legitimately think he will do better this week than Team Go-Go Clifford, who has to throw on Devin Singletary and A.J. Dillon as his running backs. His wide receivers are fine. Yeah. Team Go-Go Clifford is quickly making the way down the ranks towards the bottom of this, so I'm going with Owen Tree as well.
All right. I'm going with Ryo in the next matchup. I'm taking a sneak peek already.
All right. Let's look at it.
Just to be different. It projects Aaron to win.
Yeah, he's also got his tight end on bye, so he's going to be putting him in for 7 more points. Yeah, he's kind of got some tough matchups. I don't know. I don't really like either of these teams this week.
I know, me neither. I had to pick one. And I wanted to be different because it already projects Aaron. So I wanted to be like, oh, no, let's be different and pick Ryo. Because usually whenever you and I pick together, it seems that we always pick along the lines of the favored one already. And then you and I all always pick 4 out of the 5 same teams, or all the 5 same teams.
Well, we already did 4 out of the 5, so I guess I'll be different than you, just so that we have a disparity between us, and we will have a winner. So I'll pick Aaron to win, even though he's on the bottom of my power rankings.
And that you have Ryo at the top, and you want Ryo to win.
I want Ryo to win, of course. Always, I want Ryo to win. So this year we've switched the model. This year I want him to win, aka I want him to lose. So we'll
don't jinx yourself by saying that.
I want him to win. I want him to win. He's at the top of my power rankings.
I was laughing so hard last week when you were like, I hope good game, Adam. You already won, and I'm like, I'm the master of that. Sorry.
Well, I did it so fast. I did it right after the Thursday night game. I was trying to get ahead of it because I knew I was in trouble. So
it was a valiant effort.
Yeah, but well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast this week. I hope you had as much fun as I did because I had a blast. So, as always, we get way off topic, and that's all right. That's part of the fun of having you guys on. It's not as fun when it's just me and I'm just spouting facts at you guys. It's more fun when I get back and forth with you guys and I'm able to talk about random stuff. So I like it a lot.
Do we have no fan mail today?
No fan mail today. I didn't ask actually for fan mail. I should have, but no fan mail, unfortunately. But we could play the drop for the fun of it if you want.
Yeah, why not?
Mail time. Mail time. Mail time. Mail time. It's a good drop.
It's a very good drop.
Yep. Who do you think is going to win it all? That's my mail question.
Shoot, man.
I mean, you're going to pick yourself, right?
In a non-defensive league, I'd say myself. Honestly, I put enough work and time into this thing that I can pick out all the offensive players. But in a defensive league, I get messed up.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, I'm picking me. So that's our mailbag for this week.
I'm going to pick Benaya, even though he's going to be 4-6 after the next 2 weeks.
You can't pick Benaya. Benaya, he does have to get the victory. His name on the old trophy there. Only 3 people have their name on the old trophy there, so we got to add some more names. AKA, we got to add the same names. Jason.
I don't think where I could put it.
On the top shelf there.
That'd be a good spot for it right there.
All right. Thank you, Adam, for joining me this week. Any last words before we
Thanks for having me. Good luck, boys and girls.
Thanks for coming. And yes, we will catch you all next week. Good luck with all of your matchups, and we will see you on the flip side, boys. See you guys.